Hey folks, welcome back to another video. You join me and the beast here on a rather chilly, breezy day up above my house, hence why I'm in the big down jacket even though it's coming towards the end of March. It should be warming up by now, but it doesn't feel like it today. Shortish video today, by my standards at least. Do you need to buy specific sport drawers, right? I've got generally two types of quick drawers in my cupboard. I've got sport specific drawers like this and trad specific drawers like this. You do not need to have two sets of drawers. One set of drawers will do you for everything. When you're first starting out, every time I would recommend something like this. This is the DMM Phantom quick drawer, right? The carabiner's quite small, I'll come on to that in a second, and the dog bone, this bit of nylon, is thin, wobbly. That's a good thing, right? These ones, they're quite nice ones. They cost around about £20 retail. Whenever I quote these prices, obviously you can get them cheaper if you hunt around in the sale and stuff like that. They do look very similar to something like this, the Petzl Spirit, which is a similar price actually. It's about 50 pence more, I think, the retail price on them. This, you'll notice though, is nowhere near as floppy on the dog bone. It's thicker. There's a reason for that. And the carabiners at the top, the snap gates, solid gates on this one and wire gates on this one. The obvious advantage of a wire gate is less material, it's lighter. It is as simple as that, all right? Both of them have a carabiner at the top that is on the loose side. It's looser on these trad, there's more room for them to move around, but they're both like fixed at the bottom, usually in something similar to this with a bit of rubber. Okay, the rubber in here is just internal in the sling rather than external on this one, but it's to achieve the same thing, right? We want floppy on the gear end, because then when it's clipped to a nut or something and you're climbing past it and the rope's affecting it as you're on your merry way, there's less chance of it like lifting the nut out or affecting that nut placement. Same for cams and everything else as well. We want the bottom bit to be stiffer because it just makes it easier to clip. When it sort of stays in one position, makes it much easier to clip. I said this is lighter, 67 grams for this one. The Petzl Spirit is a little bit more at 95 grams. Doesn't sound like a lot, does it? And it isn't that much, but perhaps it does add up a bit. You can carry like 14 of these ones for the weight of 10 of these ones. These are obviously not the only two brands of quick draws out there, far from it, right? DMM do their own version of a sport drawer called the Alpha Sport, which is a really nice quick drawer. I've had them before, but I don't own any at the moment, so I couldn't bring one up onto the hill. They weigh, just checking the phone again, but I think it is 117 grams. So then you can carry 17 of these for the weight of 10 of those Alpha Sports. On sport climbing, you're obviously carrying a lot less kit, aren't you? Pretty much just quick drawers, right? You're not carrying nuts, cams, hexes, whatever else. Might have a lanyard and stuff, but in the whole scheme of things, really, it's just quick draws. So the weight matters less, doesn't it? Okay. When we're on a trad adventure, we've got loads of kit with us. So actually saving some grams, it's not always about making that move or not making the move. Do you know what I mean? If you're saving a few grams, is that going to make a difference to you being able to make that crux move or something? I mean, in a very small percentage of cases, maybe it will make a difference. I'm talking like top end stuff. But actually just comfort as well. If you're on this multi-pitch day out and there's lots of like hanging belays and stuff like that that all add to the discomfort of a day, every time you're making a move, that's a bit of weight, isn't it? But it's also just the weight pulling your harness down, and even if you've got a really comfy harness, it does start to get a bit uncomfortable after a while. So if you're shaving like a decent amount of weight off, as you know, which won't just be as part of quick draws, but you know, as part of the whole rack, then I think it can make a positive impact upon your day. So it's worth considering. It's not always about that move, it's sometimes about the whole day out, isn't it? I've sung the praise of these. They're light, floppy, they won't affect the gear, that kind of thing. With sport climbing though, it's a little bit different. So we haven't got to worry about the weight, and we're more concerned perhaps about, there's two main things for me. The dog bone, this bit, on sport drawers, sport specific drawers, is nice and chunky. That's for grabbing it. grabbing quick draws can be a really bad idea. I know someone locally who's got a big scar across their hand because they grabbed a quick draw, slipped and caught themselves on that bit and ripped their hand open. I've seen and heard it happen in Margalef as well. It was not a nice noise hearing that poor girl do something similar, but we all do it. Perhaps be careful about how you do it, but we all do it. When you're working a route, sometimes you're doing it just to put a clip in and yard up or pull past and move, all sorts of reasons. But it's really hard to actually do it on these skinny ones. Not impossible, but it's a lot nicer to do it on these chunky ones. The other big difference is, like, we often want to clip stuff a bit quicker on sport climbing. I'm generalising, but often on sport climbing we're kind of at our limit. We're doing routes that, you know, in terms of the moves and the amount of energy we've got, we're more regularly at that limit, I think. There's plenty of times on trad where you're at your limit, don't get me wrong, but I think the majority of trad climbing is actually, there's plenty in the tank realistically. You see more people sport climbing falling off, don't you? That kind of makes that point, I think. But certainly for me, yeah, I'm at my limit far more regularly percentage wise on a sport route for sure. So I want everything to happen as efficiently as possible in terms of the mechanical side of climbing. So not the moves, although we want to be quick on those, but like the logistical things, like clipping a rope into a quick draw. I want that to be like instantaneous almost, right? I have fallen off a route when I have been like unable to clip, and that's not always the quick draw's fault. Sometimes I'm just in a bad position or just so pumped I can't like let go. But sometimes I remember falling off this cool 7B, I think it was, years ago, trying to flash it in Chilea, and someone had one of those tiny Edelrid 19G carabiners on the bottom. They had already put the draws in, and I just couldn't clip the thing because I was a bit shaky, a bit pumped, all that kind of thing. So by having nice big quick draws, that makes life easier. But also look at the shape of that carabiner. Because it's got a bent gate, the rope just falls into that really nicely. So of course you've still got to have good technique, whichever technique you're going to use, but the rope almost wants to go into that carabiner. Nearly all wire gates are more of a straight affair. There's a bit of shape, but they're more of a straight affair, so they can be a bit harder to clip in extremis. They're a bit chunkier, and on bolts, if you're falling off working routes, that kind of thing, they can get a bit chewed up on that top bit by, like, especially Petzl hangers that are quite sharp. They can dig in. That's going to happen on this carabiner. It's going to happen on that little Phantom as well. These are a bit chunkier, so it does feel like maybe they can take a bit more abuse. I've mentioned those DMM Alpha Sports. They're a lot heavier, mostly because there's more material on them. The gate at the bottom is even more bent, so the rope really wants to go into those. But they're also just a bit heavier, so I think they last a bit longer. I did have a set of Alpha Sports and I sold them on, and actually I'd used them loads, but they still looked, I'm not going to say they looked brand new, but they still had so much life left in them. I sold them to a friend and they'll last for yonkies yet. You could buy like a whole set of these and use them on trad. It's the floppiness that I don't like. You can see it still moves, but nowhere near as much. It's much more restrained, or constrained rather, in there. So I would rather, when I'm starting out, use these on sport, because it's probably going to be nice, easier sport routes when you're starting out as well. So I find that these are a bit more general purpose than these. These are more niche just to sport. Not to say you can't use them on trad, of course you can, but I'd say these are more specific to sport. You can get all of these in various lengths. I find that these ones, the 17 centimetres, the Spirits, they're the ones I use most, but these ones at 11 I think are good, and these ones at 20 something, 25 or something are good as well. So various different lengths. Of course you can get everything like this in different lengths as well. The only time on sport when I do tend to use like snap gates is when I just like grab from my trad rack one of these to make a clip a bit longer, either for ease of clipping or just because it's off to the side a bit and I'm trying to get a rope to run more nicely. As a quick top tip, if you want to do that with sport draws, a real common thing to do is this. Bit of judgment required, of course, because there's extra like links in it, but that can just make a really nice clip then, and it's extended a bit, and maybe that can make the difference between a nice easy red point and a stressful red point as well. Do you need to buy specific sport draws? No, absolutely not. but they will make your life a lot easier if you do really get into sport climbing. Then you can save your nice light ones for trad routes, have your nice sports set for obviously going sport climbing. The prices I've quoted, they're both about £20. I think one is like £20.50, one is about £21 for that particular length, and that's the retail price. The Alpha Sports from DMM, quite a bit more actually, relatively, £27 retail. You're going to want about 15, and if you buy them in packs of 5 or whatever, they're a bit cheaper, so have a search around. Outside, who kindly support the channel, they sell both of these and will often have good prices on them, and certainly, like I say, cheaper when you buy them in packs of 5 or whatever. So there you go. I hope that's been interesting. It's a bit of waffle, but not too much. It's a question I get asked a lot, so hopefully that's been useful to you guys. As always, chuck any questions in the comments below. Happy to answer as best I can. Get back to everyone eventually, sooner or later. But click the like button, smash the subscribe button, find us on Instagram and give us a follow there. That's massively appreciated. Use the Buy Me a Coffee link. That's a crazy amount of support for myself and the boys leaning. Oh, he's gone behind me now. But we both appreciate that support massively. As always though, big thanks for watching. More videos coming up very soon.